Hi, I'm so happy you're joining me today. In this video, we're going to talk about anxiety. I'm going to talk about a perspective of what anxiety is. It might be different than what you're used to hearing. And then also some ways to naturally support anxiety. My name is Megan Warren. I'm a holistic practitioner, and this is a common mental emotional issue that I see with clients, and it's something that I have dealt with, and it's on the rise. Is on the rise. So research shows that 25 to 30% of women are dealing with anxiety. Specifically, I work with 30s to 40s. I think I already said that. Um, and that's 1 in 4 women. 1 in 4 women are dealing with anxiety. Some women, these are the women that report that they are dealing with anxiety. And I think that some women are even unaware that they are dealing with anxiety. That was me. I had no idea that I was dealing with some anxiety until I really got to study the topic and realized, wow, this was just how I functioned. So let's talk about why this is on the rise. Okay, so modern day women between these ages specifically, this is like the age group where women are very career driven. Number one, there's a lot of us that are working moms. So not only are they career driven and they're working hard, but they also have families or they are trying to have families. A lot of women in their 30s and some in their 40s are trying to conceive, and fertility rates um, are challenging nowadays. A lot of women are having trouble with fertility, which can lead to more stress and anxiety. But this is why stress and anxiety are higher than ever because career, family life, trying to have a family, and then just other responsibilities, life, trying to have better health. This is often the time also where women start dealing with more hormonal issues, more symptoms in their body, maybe GI issues, and just symptoms in general due to a lot of the stress that our bodies have been exposed to just over our lifetime. And so symptoms will pop up later from the stress and everything. And this is why a lot of women are dealing with this anxiety, not to also mention just how much we're exposed to today with technology. Um, there's a lot of things pulling at us, right? A lot of demands that we are faced with, and a lot of distractions that we're faced with. So these are just some of the reasons. So now I want to break down anxiety so that you better understand what's happening in the mind and in the body. Because a lot of times that's what, that's number one. If you have awareness of this is what's actually going on, then you can start to find out a solution versus being scared of something that a lot of people feel like they don't have control over. A lot of times people think it just comes on. It's like, and for example, like an out of blue or out of the blue panic attack. It really isn't out of the blue, but we think it is. And so, how to control that, how to manage that, um, you can do that. And so, let's first just talk about you know our bodies are meant to protect itself. We have something called neuroception, and our neuroception is it scans our inner environment, what's going on internally, and our outer environment, and it looks for danger and threat in our environment. And I'm willing to bet that you would agree with me that most of us are in a safe environment when we are living our daily lives. However, with modern stress, we have things that our internal system, our mind, reads as dangerous, not having enough time, having deadlines, not being able to keep up with people we see on social media, stresses like finances, health issues, relationship issues, work issues, maybe not feeling the fulfillment in life. All of these things can act as a perceived threat. When in reality, none of them are actual life or death situations. Some of them might be, and I don't know your situation. But most, I'm willing to bet that most of them, you're like, yeah, it's not life or death. Excuse me. Things always find a way of figuring themselves out. And these are just the things that we're exposed to now, rather than back in the day when we were having to hunt and gather food and we were in real life situations of danger where we have a tiger or a bear chasing us, right? We're not in a situation like that today. So, what this is doing is when we have these little stressors, our neuroception reads this as potential threat, danger. And what happens is our body will start to read that and act accordingly, protect itself, go into a self protection mode. And specifically, what our body does is it starts to move blood away from our organs like respiration, circulation, digestion, and it moves into our legs so that we can run faster. Most of the time, if we're in a situation like that, if we are working at our computers, we are not running away from what we perceive as the threat, right? When we're reading the email and we see the email and we're like, oh my gosh, I have X, Y, and Z things to do today, or I can't believe this deadline changed, or this happened. We're not going and running around the neighborhood really quick. So what happens is we feel the sensations in our body. And when we feel those sensations and when blood moves to our legs and away from our organs, our breathing starts to increase. And when we have faster breathing, we increase our oxygen levels. And that's not a bad thing. Increasing our oxygen levels is a good thing. However, we on the flip side, increase our carbon dioxide when we exhale. And that's where the issue is, because what this does, it starts to affect our pH balance in our body. And our body gets the feeling that we don't have enough oxygen coming in. That's where the issue becomes. So we get the feeling of our sensations in our body, and we actually get fearful of that. So not only do you have the fear of the perceived threat, the email, the financial situation, the health news, the fight you had with your spouse, your children continuously pulling at you, telling you they need this, they need that, they need this, they need that. Whatever it is. But then you feel the sensation in your body because that energy, the rush of hormones that you get initially from the threat has nowhere to go. So we get scared of the feeling, the sensations that we feel internally. Okay, that's the second thing that happens that triggers this anxiety. That's actually what the anxiety is the fear of our own sensations. And then the third thing that happens is our mind starts gathering information and we create the story, the narrative that supports that fear. I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is so challenging. I can't do this. Like all of the negative stories, the beliefs, this person is, blaming this person. Why is this happening to me? All of the things. I can't get through this. I'm not going to survive this. Whatever, if whatever extreme thoughts happen, the mind will support that because the mind's job and role is to get you protected. And it wants to go to work to find a solution so that you're no longer feeling this threat anymore. So it goes into solution mode. So having all of that awareness of what's actually going on in the body, if you are in a situation where you are feeling like, oh gosh, my heart's starting to beat faster, my breathing is starting to increase, I feel the rush of hormones in my body, you can start to control that by first controlling your breathing. So I'm going to give you a breathing exercise at the end of this video that you can start to implement to help you in those anxiety-induced situations. Okay. When you start to calm down the breathing, this then sends a signal to the body that, hey, we're not in any real danger. You're safe, and you can go back to doing what you are meant to be doing, talking about the organs. Digestion can come back online, respiration can slow down, same thing with circulation. Okay. All of your body's systems, they're always working for you. However, if we are in a constant state of stress, if we're in a constant state of threat, if our internal system is always reading things as not good, as things are wrong, as this is hard, as this is challenging, as I'm not able to do this, why me, all of this victim mentality, it takes away the energy of those organs that are going to work to naturally heal our body and support our mind, support, so that we have mentally clear thoughts. So this is why, it's really important to look at, what some people do is they will get on a medication to help their anxiety. And it's not actually getting to the root of why they're having anxiety in the first place. So I'm a big believer in supporting your issues, in this case, anxiety, naturally. And so if you're wondering, okay, so how do we do that? Like I said, we're going to talk about the breathing exercise if you're in the moment, but there's also a very holistic way to support the mind and the body, even when you're not in an anxiety induced state, but just to support you day in and day out. Okay, so the first one I'm going to go over is how to support with nutrition and nutrients and support your body systems. So the things that can trigger more anxiety are sugar, caffeine, and gluten. So there can be other things, but those are the three that I want to go over. That if you start to really limit your sugar intake, your caffeine intake, even just like the time of day you're having caffeine. So, if you're having it first thing in the morning, this can trigger anxiety more, and also it can dysregulate blood sugar. Same with sugar. Just looking at how much are you having per day, and then gluten. There can be an inflammatory response that happens when you're having gluten. And gluten is found in pastas and breads and things like that. And a lot of people turn to gluten-free options, but sometimes I'm not a huge fan of those either, just because of all of the ingredients that aren't natural and a lot of the chemicals that they put in those foods. So I'm not going to go into that now, but just look at those three. And also alcohol. Alcohol is a big one. And what I would notice when I would have alcohol is the next day, even if I just had one margarita, one glass of wine, I would have a little bit of anxiety the next day. And so notice, on the days when you don't have alcohol, how do you feel the next day? On the days you do have alcohol, how do you feel the next day? This can be a trigger for anxiety for sure. So the other thing about nutrition and nutrients is to make sure that you're balancing your blood sugar at every meal. How do we do that? We never have naked carbs. Naked carbohydrates are like having a piece of fruit alone, potato chips alone. You want to always add in a protein or a fat with a carbohydrate, and this will help to stabilize your blood sugar and insulin and reduce the crash later in the day after you digest and break down that food. And that can also support your energy levels too, and your anxiety. The third thing in this section that I want to talk about is healing your gut. So a lot of times if people are dealing with leaky gut, if you have poor microbiome health, microbiome is just another word for gut health, this can be leading to more anxiety. Your gut is your second brain. And so a lot of times we think anxiety, we think only mind, but your gut is very, very highly influenced. The health of your gut is influenced by this anxiety if you are dealing with that. So heal your gut, talk to a practitioner. This is something that I do with my clients, running testing to see what is the health of your gut. It's very important for a lot of different things: gut health, hormone health, anxiety, overall health and well-being. The next thing that you can start to add in, so these are foods that are going to support anxiety. There's a lot of calming teas. I love teas so much. Rooibos is a really good option. Chamomile tea is a great option. I love reishi tea. That really does support stress management. Organ meats are great. Leafy green vegetables, avocados, oysters are really good. Those are just some foods that you can start to add in to support anxiety. And then as far as other nutrients go, I love adaptogens and omega-3s. Omega-3s are going to support your brain health, cardiovascular health. It's just very, very good for anxiety if you're looking for a supplement. Now, that's all nutrition and nutrients, and also just some of the other organ systems that you want to support, like gut health. Some other things that you can do to support anxiety naturally, and this is a big help for me if I feel like I'm dealing with anxiety, is move. Move your body. Like I explained earlier, if you're in that situation where a perceived threat comes about and you're staying still, that can cause you to feel more of it. So going for a walk, doing an exercise routine like strength training, high intensity training, yoga can be really good just to calm down the body and you're still moving the body. But see what works for you. You might feel like, okay, my mind is feeling a little bit racing. I'm going to go for a quick walk around my neighborhood and see if that helps, because sometimes it's just the moving of your body. You can even shake your body out. If you can't go for a walk, something like that, just move the body, do some breathing, and that'll help you get back online. The other thing is quality sleep. So if you are not prioritizing sleep and you're getting less than 7 hours, really, research is now showing women need more sleep than men. I love a good 8 or 9 hour sleep. I feel so good if I get 8 hours of sleep. So making sure that you have high quality of sleep. Going to bed at midnight and waking up at 9 is not going to be the same as going to bed at 10 and waking up at 6. Okay, this has everything to do with the circadian rhythm, and that's your internal alarm clock. And so if you can start to change the time you're going to sleep, it's going to really impact this level of anxiety. The other thing is learn what behavior patterns are not serving you. This is huge. This is where becoming a better version of yourself as we grow and evolve in our life is everything. Learning to say no. If you know that, you don't want to do something, if it's not within your values, if you know you don't have time for it, if it's not aligned for you anymore, if you say yes to that, that's going against your intuition, what you feel right. Maybe it goes against your values, and that's going to be more anxiety inducing, because you're going around, like I just said, what you initially want to do. It's like you're not being in your integrity for yourself if you're saying yes to everybody else and everything else. And so really learning those healthy boundaries, saying no when that's necessary, learning healthy boundaries around social media, right? That's one that can really induce anxiety. If you're comparing yourself to others, if you are scrolling on Instagram and 30 minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, I could have got a workout done. This is the only time I had to work out and I was scrolling on social media. That can cause more anxiety. Watching and reading things that stir up more negative beliefs, negative thoughts, negative emotions, like the news, that can really trigger more of those feelings and thoughts. And so the last part of this that I want to share to help anxiety is finding your stress management tools that work for you. So some of these can be some examples that I like to use are meditation, prayer. Like sometimes you just have to pray and give it to God. Like seriously, that works wonders. Getting out in nature can be really helpful, especially since we're exposed to a lot of Wi-Fi and the 5G and just all of these frequencies from electronics that can really, really they really are stressing out our organs. They really are. And so getting out in nature as much as you can, getting away from technology, and then breathing. Breathing is one of my favorite tools to do. It's fast, it's efficient, and it works because it's telling your body that we are safe. So let's go into that now. I want to share this breathing practice with you. And you can do this. I recommend doing this for at least 6 breaths. Of course, the longer you do the breathing exercise, the better. The more you're going to feel the feeling of relaxation. But try 6 out as a minimum. And if you still feel like you feel a little bit of anxious energy, then do it for longer. So what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in for 2 breaths, 2 inhales, and then you're going to exhale out with a sigh. If you're doing this right now and you're driving or you're by water, please do not. Every breathing exercise that I ever recommend needs to be in a place where you are not driving, you're not by water, you're seated, so you're not standing up because sometimes you can get lightheaded. So I just want to say that as a safety precaution. You can come back to this. So let's go ahead and practice this. Let's do it together. So it sounds like this. Breathing in for 1. In through the nose. Breathe in for a second time. It's going to be short. And then exhale out with a sigh. And you can let it be audible. That means you can make a noise. Okay, so let's try this again. Try it with me. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe in again. Exhale out. Go ahead and try it again and let your ribcage expand, your belly expand on the inhale. Pause. Breathe in. Exhale out. Okay, try it 3 more times on your own. Okay, how was that? That is the fastest way to change the chemistry in your body, to change what is going on in your body so that you get the signal, your nervous system gets a signal that we're not in a dangerous situation, we are okay, and we can relax our breath. And after you do that, it might even be easier to breathe. A lot of times when people are dealing with anxiety, they're breathing from their chest. They're not breathing from their belly or ribcage, letting their diaphragm expand. That can cause a lot shorter breathing, a lot faster breathing, which can induce even more anxiety. So you want to make sure that when you're doing this exercise and when you are breathing each and every day, that you become mindful of how can I breathe more from my rib cage expanding and not from my chest. Okay, after you do the breathing, this is the last tip I'm going to recommend. Then you can go and do some mindset work. You can start to look at your thoughts. You can start to see what you've been focused on for the past hour, for the past 10 minutes. And then you can start to change that into, okay, wow, I've noticed that I'm focusing on a whole lot of negativity. I'm focusing on things that aren't working. How can I start to ask myself questions that help me look at a different possibility? The quality of your questions is everything. A lot of times we're asking ourselves questions that end up our minds looking for the solution of the problem. So we want to start creating questions that start to look for the solution that's helping your whatever you're focused on that you want come into your reality. But that's not usually what the mind is programmed to do. It's programmed to look at the problem and go into, why is this happening? Oh my gosh, how is this happening again? And then your mind's going to find answers for that. So if you can start to ask yourself more powerful questions, it really will open the mind up to start to look for a solution that you're really wanting versus what you're not wanting. Okay. The other thing I will say is if you are in an actual stressful moment where you feel like you're about to have a panic attack, if you start to do this breathing exercise like I showed you, and you also repeat just an affirmation of like, I'm safe, I got this, you're fine, you're in control, my breathing is coming back online. If you start to tell yourself that and mother yourself in that way, it really does change this pretty fast. Okay, so just to recap that again, just ways to support through nutrition and nutrients, through movement and exercise, quality sleep, learning to change your behavioral patterns that are better for you overall, and learning which stress tools help you to manage your stress. So, you can look at some of these and say, I'm going to start here. I'm going to maybe start with sleep and nutrition and this breathing exercise. Don't feel like you have to do everything, but these are really the things that are going to move the needle. And also just having that understanding of this is what anxiety is so empowering. If you have that understanding and use some natural ways to get through it, I see this number improving for you. I see your quality of life improving for you and your health also improving. So thanks again for joining me. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you have any comments, leave them below. I would love to hear what you took away from this video, and I will see you guys later. Bye.